Good day, everyone. I am April Joy M. Austria together with Ma'am Nika Bawa, Ma'am Jacqueline Cano, Ma'am Mia Olivia Cano, Ma'am Catherine de Guzman, Ma'am Ina G.P. Dewan, Ma'am Sarah Jane Ramos, Ma'am Renalyn Sabangan, Ma'am Danica Solomon, and Ma'am Jamie Velasquez. And we are the Group 2. I am here together with Miss Jacqueline Cano to present our group activity. Activity 5, Assessing Learning Outcomes and Reporting Feedbacks. So we have first the intended learning outcomes. So at the end of the activity, we FS student must be able to achieve the following. So first, determine the alignment of the assessment tool and task with the intended learning outcomes. Second, critique traditional and authentic assessment tools and tasks for learning in the context of established guidelines on test construction. 3. Evaluate non-traditional assessment tools including scoring rubrics. 4. Determine the procedure on how grades are computed and reported to parents. And lastly, compute student grade based on DepEd's grading policy. So now we have the observation report. So we presented here a table which we list down all the forms of assessment tools used by the teachers that we have observed. So we have for assessment for learning, we have here the worksheets, direct observation, recitation, oral questioning, and quizzes. So these assessment tools, it enable teachers to use information about students' knowledge, understanding, and skills to inform their teaching. As well as this assessment, teachers provide feedback to students about their learning and how to improve. Next, we have the assessment as learning. So, ang mga assessment tools na ginagamit ng teachers dito is self-assessment such as using KW chart, the checklist, the peer assessment rubrics, portfolio, and reflection. So, when we say assessment as learning, it involves students in the learning process where they monitor their own progress, ask questions, and practice skills. Also here, students use self-assessment and teacher feedback to reflect on their learning, consolidate their understandings, and work toward learning goals. Another, we have the assessment of learning. So, aligned on the assessment of learning, we have the portfolio, oral presentation, tests, examinations, performance tasks, and the final project. So, in this assessment of learning, it assists teachers to use evidence of student learning to assess a student's achievement against learning goals and standards. Under this, we have our questions or guide question. We have the number 1 question. Which of the above listed assessment are formative in nature? Justify your answer. So in the above list assessments, recitation, worksheets, oral questioning, observation, and self-assessment are the assessments that are formative in nature. These are formative in nature because it is totally used or utilized by the teachers for the aim in gathering information about the learner's learning progress during discussion or instruction. So this assessment also, educator can assess and observe the progress of the pupils. Assessments formative in nature takes place during or before lessons implementation or discussion. For the second question, list all the summative assessments that you have observed. Justify. So the assessment or the summative assessments that were utilized by teachers in our observation are portfolio, oral presentation, tests, examination, and performance tasks. These assessments administered at the end of the lesson, unit, or discussion. Here, learners will apply what they have learned. For instance, after the lesson, the teacher will give an activity, a performance task. The teacher will ask learners to do role play about the action of animals. Through summative assessment, teachers can evaluate the pupils' learning to know if they really understand the lesson, to check whether the progress observed during formative assessment is retained or not, and also to assess if the strategy used by the educator is effective or not. Here, another table is presented wherein we complete the table by listing the intended learning outcomes projected by the teacher and the assessment activity that support each intended learning outcome. So we have first the intended learning outcomes or objective, which is classify groups of animal based on the food they consume. So here is the assessment activity that the teacher used in traditional, true or false tests, and for non-traditional, collage making and demonstration. For second objective, identify the characters in the story of the ants and the grasshopper. For traditional assessment activity, teachers utilize short answer tests and multiple choice tests. For non-traditional assessment, the teacher utilize role play. For the third objective, state the proper way on how to take good care of our ears. So on traditional assessment, the teacher utilize true or false tests, and for non-traditional, demonstration or role play. For the fourth objective, solve problems involving average, rate, and speed. So for traditional assessment activity, multiple choice tests, and for non-traditional activity, it is done by group and present in front of the class, or in short, presentation. For fifth objective, make a reflection about the story The Monkey and the Turtle. For the traditional assessment, the teacher utilized it is essay, and for non-traditional, role play. Under this, we have also our guide question, which is, what guideline on test construction and art of questioning did the teacher consider in each assessment activity? So the guidelines on test construction and art of questioning did the teacher consider in each assessment activity are its reliability and validity, the arrangement that it should be systematically, it is connected to the lesson or subject matter, it should have one clear answer, and it should have the consistency. For art of questioning, it should be linked with the lesson. It emphasizes higher level of thinking, and we make sure that these questions will make the learners actively participate. And most importantly, it is precise, coherent, and concise. In line with this activity, we interview two teachers from DepEd. We asked how they compute learners' grades, what criteria do they consider, and also how are the grades or performance reported to parents. So here are the record result of our interview. So our first interviewee is Ms. Marjeline Melendez, 8 years in service. So how did they compute grades? So first, they need their class record, and also they will going to download, or they downloaded their e-class record. They will input here the scores of the learners according to performance tasks, written output or written works, and quarterly examination. And pag na-encode na nila doon, automatic na siyang mag-compute. So, this performance tasks, written works, and quarterly examination, meron silang iba't ibang percentage. Ito rin ay magkakaiba according to subjects. Also, how are the grades or performance reported to the parents? So, meron tayong tinatawag na card day. And during card day, the teacher will talk to parents and sasabihin nila yung na-monitor nila or na-assess nila sa sa parents tungkol sa mga bata. And also, pwedeng ipakita ni teacher yung kanyang class record para maipakita sa parents ang kanilang mga scores.
They compute learners' grade through e-class record by Microsoft Excel. They just need to input the learner's score, then it will automatically compute. They use the criteria based on the subject, like for example in the mathematics, it was separated or divided into 3 categories, which are the written works, 40%, performance tasks, 40%, and quarterly assessment, 20%. The grades or performance reported to the parents by meeting or sending pictures and videos of activities and performance tasks in Messenger of the teacher together with their parents of children. And also, they send feedback to the parents about their children in card day. For number 1, why is there a need to evaluate learning? Kailangan pong mag-evaluate because when we evaluate learning, we see the improvement of every learners. And use this as a guide in teaching. It gives the learner the opportunity para maging aware din sila on their learning, and it also giving feedback to them. By evaluating, we will be able to know what the student already know so that we can make the improvement. For number 2, do teachers need to record result of formative and summative assessment? Why or why not? Absolutely yes po. teachers need to record result of formative and summative assessment because with this, they can monitor the learning and the academic progress of the learners. They can use it to determine or measure what the learners have achieved, and sa pagre-record po ng assessment, it is pivotal for it is needed sa pagkukompute po ng grade, as well as it will serve as a proof and basis by the educators in computing the learner's grade po. For the number 3, in the assessment that was administered, do you think the teacher prepared a table of specification? Elucidate your answer. Yes po. In assessment that was administered, the teacher prepared a table of specification. The table of specification will help the educators in organizing the test, and also this table of specification will make sure that the test is reliable and also validated. Through table of specification, the teacher will ensure that the test that they prepare is naka-align po sa itinuro at sa objective po ng kanilang lesson. For number 4, how did the teacher align the task in the assessment tools with the intended learning outcomes? The teacher aligned the task in the assessment tools with the intended learning outcomes by aligning the learning activities and capabilities of student. It is significant to align the tasks in the assessment activities and learning outcome because it will result to good learning and they will acquire the knowledge that they need. For number 5, did the teacher use a scoring rubric to evaluate the student performance? Describe how it was utilized. Yes, the teacher used the scoring rubrics to evaluate the student performance. It was utilized by setting a criteria or standard that need to be met or achieved by the learners. The criteria or standard should be aligned to the activity as well as the subject matter and the learning outcome. The standard should be attainable and it should be realistic. The scoring rubric should be introduced to the learners before doing the activity. Number 6, did the learners encounter difficulty in answering the teacher's question? Expound your answer. Yes po, ilan po sa mga learners ay naka-encounter ng difficulty in answering the teacher's question kasi po they are not focusing during the lesson o sa discussion po. However, karamihan po sa mga learners ay hindi po naka-encounter ng difficulty in answering the teacher's question because they listen attentively and they understand what the teacher are explaining and discussing po. Number 7, did the teacher encounter challenges during the computation and reporting of grade to parents? Justify your answer. According to the teachers we interviewed, they did not encounter challenges during the computation and reporting of grade to the parents because according to them, they are very transparent when it comes to the output of their learners. Also, they always send proof regarding the learner's performance activity, task or quiz, and exam with the use of messenger by sending video and pictures of learners' activities and given feedback during the meeting and card day. And they also using a e-class record for computing grades so it will automatically compute the grade of learners. And for the reflection, number 1, as a millennial would-be teacher, how can the assessment process help you to make learning more fun and more meaningful? As millennial would-be educators, assessment process help you to make learning more fun and more meaningful through utilizing assessment that are based on learning objective, very relatable to our student, and authentic connected to real world or scenario. We will make sure that learners will be active and participative in every assessment. And for the number 2, as a future educator, how can you eliminate fear of assessment of your student? As a future teacher, we can eliminate fear of assessment to our students by motivating them to do their best and explain to them that they must enjoy assessment or learning, and by explaining the lesson well so that they can confidently answer their assessment. And for the number 3, if you are the teacher, what solutions could you offer to address the challenges in evaluating student performance and giving feedback? If we are the teacher, the solution that could we offer to address the challenge in evaluating student performance and giving feedback to them is to create a rubrics that is suitable in the objective and learning capabilities of student, and also by explaining it to them so that they can guided by it. And for number 4, here is our sample computation of grades using the DepEd assessment guidelines.
And here are our evidences and documents for this activity number 5. Thank you for listening.